Right. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So I'll just say this before I start. If you like Halloween, the franchise, if you like, if you like me have seen all the other Halloween movies, or at least 90% of them, go see this. Go see this movie. Right? Go see this movie because it's what you expect. It's it's what you expect. It continues the story of the last Halloween. Obviously, we follow Michael Myers. We follow Laurie Strode. We follow her family. We see what happens next. And from that standpoint, I was really satisfied as far as seeing what developed. I liked seeing the fact that we were immersed back into Haddonfield in a way where they called upon the past, they brought it back to the present, and it also shows us a glimpse of what's to come in the future. So, like I said, if you like Halloween, go see this movie. Right? I got some spoilers coming up. I'm gonna just talk about the movie. And if you know what I'm saying, so go see the movie. You know, um, right here, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but moving along, I will be discussing the movie. So if you haven't seen it, don't watch this, right? Don't watch this. All right, so let's talk about what I liked about the movie first. Let's talk about the positives first, all right? Let's talk about the things I actually liked. The things that I liked about this movie. First and foremost, I like that they allowed Michael Myers to go to town, man. This dude was doing work, man. He was doing work on everyone he can get his hands on. And I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, I don't mean to sound crazy. You know what I'm saying? But look, you go to see a horror movie, I ain't going to see nothing else but the monster, the killer. I'm trying to see them do work, man. And he went to town, man. He went to town on this town Haddonfield, and it was crazy. It was really good, man. So I was definitely not dissatisfied with that. I love that part. You really you see obviously how fucking terrifying he is, and that's what I paid to see. I paid to see that. Um, another thing that I liked about it, another thing I liked about it, I liked how I liked how they played with the concept of Michael Myers gripping a town in fear to the point where the townspeople were, they basically became a mob after Michael Myers came back and he started, you know, doing what he does. He whipped them into such a frenzy that they basically started, in a way, turning on each other, so to speak. I just ate a burger. That's one thing I liked. I just didn't like how it was executed. I didn't like how it was executed. For me, it's very plausible that if this killer was coming back, back and forth to this town, just this town, and terrorizing people to killing them for in this town of Haydenfield having this looming over their head for so many decades, I find it plausible that they would be in such a frenzy and they would be looking for anyone to basically kind of lead them, like lead the charge and be like, okay, now we're going after him. It makes sense. It's plausible. I just didn't like how it was executed. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't like how it was executed, but I like the concept of the citizens of Haydenfield, the town of Haydenfield, fighting back. It makes perfect sense. And I'm just like, man, that's what's up. I just didn't like how it was executed, but I like the angle. Another thing that I like that they brought back the OGs. They brought back, I should say, some of them. And, obviously you got Jamie Lee Curtis. She's reprising her role back. And then they had the little girl that was with Jamie Lee Curtis. She's back. You know what I'm saying? She's back, and I think actually that's the extent. I don't know if the other characters, the younger boy that was with them, I don't know if he's actually the man that was playing in this movie, but that's beside the point. I like how they brought back at least these characters. You know, they brought back some OGs, but in spirit, they brought all of them back, right? So all of them that survived that fateful night on Halloween, the original movie, they're back. And you know, it shows. You know, at first I was trying to be like, I was thinking to myself, I don't know about this. You know, it's kind of taken away. It's kind of story. You know, I don't know, but I liked it though because it made the story more grounded. It added a layer of realism seeing these characters kind of deal with this, and you know, they're still in this town after all these years. How do they feel about it? Are they still thinking about it? We see that play out. We see that it's still on these people's mind, on their minds. They've been gripped with fear for so many decades, so many generations, and so I really like that aspect. You know, I really like that aspect because I wanted to see these characters brought back. Ever since I seen, you know, the lady that was a young girl. Ever since I seen her, you know, taking pictures with Jamie Lee Curtis, I wanted to see her come back, and I thought that was pretty dope, man. I really enjoyed how the OG characters, you know, that were kids were grown now, and they were trying to take Haddonfield back, so to speak. You know, they're trying to get rid of their fears. You know, because not only were they trying to get rid of the bad guy once and for all, but they were trying to put their fears to rest. You know, so that's one thing I really thought was awesome about it, and it kind of made me more. It made you more nostalgic, right? Because that movie shows bits and pieces of. I mean, actually, it shows Dr. Loomis. It shows Dr. Loomis. It shows other characters. Also, it shows it shows Nurse Miriam. Nurse Miriam is back. I wasn't expecting Nurse Miriam. I be honest, I forgot all about Nurse Miriam. But you know, I think that's because Jamie Lee Curtis was executive producer. She thought it would be pretty dope to have all the OG characters back as much as she could. I think that's pretty dope. I wasn't expecting that, but I think that's pretty cool, man. And I also think it's pretty cool that she's the executive producer. She should be. She's been holding this franchise down forever. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, unequivocally, she got to be. She has the title of Halloween Queen, right? At this point, I mean, Halloween is as good as it gets as far as horror franchises. I mean, come on, let's come on. I don't even need to say it. What's already known doesn't need to be said, and it just makes you, you know, it tries to give you that feeling of the old Halloween, and also by having them, you know, having the OG characters back, others, you know, back to support. You know, it was really good, man. I like that aspect. I really did. Okay, another aspect of this movie. Another aspect of this movie that I completely enjoyed to the fullest. When the citizens, like I said, the citizens, you know, they're in hysteria, right? They were in hysteria. They were angry. They were trying to get their hands on Michael Myers, right? And when they did, they beat the brakes off this motherfucker. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that the citizens of Haddonfield got some get back, man. It's about time, man. Everyone getting killed in houses just individually. It's like, man, we gotta come together, man. So I like the fact that they came together and beat the brakes off this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I thoroughly enjoyed that shit. Another thing I like about this movie is the fact that they make Laurie Strode the, you know, even with, you know, I'll say this. I like that they made her the focal point of the movie, but it was done in a passive aggressive way. But, you know, like I said, the citizens were in a frenzy, right? So they're kind of like they're like a mob, and they follow, and they all need a leader at this point. They're all trying to grab onto someone who has the strength to kind of confront this fear, this evil that is Michael Myers. So they're kind of like sheep that way. And they make a point of saying that. And I say that to say this. None of the citizens seem to be able to, they don't seem, seemingly they're not equipped to handle Michael Myers, right? Because, Laurie Strode says it. She was like, you guys are all sheep. You're all just following. And you're just in fear. Whereas, and then I looked at it from, a bigger picture standpoint. And I was like, you know what? I like that because that means that Laurie Strode is a wolf, man. They're all sheep scared. You know what happens? The wolf comes and then all the sheep scatter because they don't want to be slaughtered, right? But she's a wolf, and she has to confront Michael Myers, who's a wolf, right? So only a wolf can kill a wolf, so to speak. And it took me till the end of the movie to realize that. I was like, oh. And then I recall back to the first one where they said, Michael Myers is constantly, in a way, he's kind of not in fear, but he's always on guard because he looks at Laurie Strode as a predator. He's a predator, and when he's not hunting, he's being hunted. And same vice versa. When she's not hunting, he's being hunted. So they all, it takes one to beat one, so to speak. So I like that aspect, and I felt like that's what they were going for. They verbalized it. So, yeah, I like that part. But I'll expound upon that a little bit more because I thought that's a really good angle that I just said right there. And so I'm gonna give it to y'all because I feel like it's a good angle to expound upon. I like that she, unlike everyone else, actually was training for decades, waiting for this moment to, arise, right? She was the only one training after her initial attack from Michael Myers, right? So in that sense, everyone else, you could look at them as sheep because they weren't preparing to have another conflict with Michael Myers the way that Laurie Strode was, the way that Jamie Lee Curtis's character was. You know what I'm saying? She was training. She was waiting for this. So in that regard, she was a wolf among sheep because, in the movie, there's a lot of characters that, didn't even know how to shoot guns. There were characters that were just, mom and dads that were just fearful. So it didn't compare to whereas you see Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie Strode, even in the first one, if I can call back to that one, you see her training. She's been training, and everyone's calling her a crazy person because she's been obsessed for so long, trying to train to battle this monster again because she feels as though he's going to emerge again. Right, so she's been so transfixed, so obsessed with trying to prepare for Michael Myers that it's destroyed relationships that she's had with people. So in that sense, she's actually the only one who's really prepared to fight him, and I think that actually makes her a much even bigger badass. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, wow, like that actually makes sense. So. Yeah, but I digress. So, I'm gonna do one more pro of the movie that I like. And there's others, but it's getting pretty lengthy. This video is so. One of the last things that I like about the movie is that it continues right where the first one left off. Right, it continues the same night, and it's just Michael Myers is just doing work in other parts of the town. And people are really starting to take wind of it. News starts to travel about it. That's one thing I like. I like that it's all taking place in one night. You know what I'm saying? They're doing a trilogy in one night. That is fantastic. It's dope. I think that's how they did the older ones. I'm not too sure yet. It's been a while since I've seen the older ones, but I like that. And I don't want to say spoiler alert because if you got this far, if you're gonna watch it, you know what I'm saying. I'm spoiling it now, but there's gonna be a trilogy, right? It's gonna be a third movie. So the first one was Halloween. Second one, Halloween Kills, obviously. And the third one is called Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends. So, um, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to buying all the Blu-rays so I could see it. So I'll just watch it back to back to back. Probably not in one sitting, but you know what I mean. You just watch because it's all just one big story, obviously. So I think that's pretty dope. I like that. I like that they're not like, oh, he went off somewhere and he's ducking laying low or something like that. I like that making it just they're making 3 movies in about one night. You know what I'm saying? Or yeah, yeah, they're making a movie about one night where I think the first one actually he's doing some traveling to get to Haydenfield, but for the most part it's all about maybe a week where all this takes place, so or two. So I'm excited about that. I think that's dope. It makes the stakes higher, it feels like. It makes it more organic. All right, let's talk about the things I didn't like, the negatives. I'm going to make this shorter than the pros, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that this is less important than the you know, other examples I talked about. By no means. But let's get into it. One of the things I definitely did not like, I didn't like how they tried to, and you guys might not feel this, but I didn't like how they tried to make all these side characters so um, 3-dimensional. To the point where it kind of took away from Michael Myers doing his thing, man, because there's so many moving pieces. That's one thing I didn't like about this movie. It felt like they were forcing characters on us that we really didn't care about. Like, for example, um, there was a guy who was mentally, what I'm saying, he was dealing with mental issues, right? And this is what makes me mad about this. Not only did I not like it, but I didn't like how they approached his character, right? Because remember when I told you guys there was a mob that was after this guy who had mental issues, and he was actually an escapee from the mental asylum. And they kind of mobbed on him, and I kind of felt like when I looked at the bigger picture optics, I was like, okay, this is kind of like, they're treating the mental patient like an outcast in society. I didn't like how he died because I was sad. He killed himself in fear of the mob, but I didn't like that how that went down because we didn't have any emotional attachment to that character. Right? We didn't have any emotional attachment to that character who was mentally disturbed, and I was like, why did they go that route? Why did they go that route? I'm not gonna say it didn't make sense. I mean, because it made sense, but like for me, it was like we don't have any emotion. We don't have any emotion invested in this character, and this character just jumped off a building and killed himself. So I don't, even though that was sad, I was like, I didn't have the same. It didn't have the same gravity as if he was a character that we were really following that was like disturbed and walking around in the first one. He wasn't really doing that. So for me, I'm like, man, why don't they could have not had that character, and we could have still had a mentally unstable person in Michael Myers, because Michael Myers is mentally unstable and he's a killer. So it's like, why did you do that? You know, you, we didn't need that. You could have got rid of that, made Michael Myers a focal point, having mental illness, but at the same time, I feel like they're trying to show the contrast, right? This is, you know, kind of like the spectrum in a way. Like this is like the mentally unstable who need help, who are just, confused. They need help. They need guidance. And then you got the dark, links of the spectrum where it's just like a person hasn't, is just disturbed beyond any repair. You know what I'm saying? So I just, maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe I'm looking too deep in it, but I just felt like they could have had all that type of psychological undertones. I felt like they could have just had that all for Michael Myers, and we didn't have to you know. But that's just my opinion of it. I just felt like we didn't have any emotional attachment to the character that killed himself. So so that's one thing I definitely didn't like. Okay, another thing that I didn't like about the movie, I did not like how to me, it felt like Karen, Laurie Strode's daughter, and Allison Nelson, uh, who's Laurie Strode's granddaughter. I didn't feel convinced that they were really sad that the father died. Allison's father, Karen's husband. I didn't really feel convinced that they were shaken up by it. There were bits and pieces where I was like, oh, okay, now I see it. Like, I see the hurt and the pain and the loss. I see it on them now. I see it in them now. Whereas, initially I was like, man, I'm not buying it. They seem awfully calm for someone who just. Allison seems awfully emotionless for someone who just lost her father. And Karen seems not too, broken up by the fact that she lost her husband. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there was bits and, you've seen it eventually, Karen breaks down about it. But I wasn't convinced enough about that, man. And I was just like, man, I feel like y'all would be more, affected by that in an emotional way. So that was definitely something that I definitely did not like. I didn't seem convinced that they were hurt by the loss of the husband slash father. Right. So I was trying to figure out a way to describe this next gripe I have, and I had to pull from another movie that's not even in the genre of horror. I pulled and grabbed Godzilla. Right. So when the first Godzilla movie came out recently, not recently, within the last 6 years, right? When the first Godzilla movie came out, a lot of the critics were bagging on us fans because we wanted to see Godzilla do Godzilla things in a Godzilla movie. They got mad talking about, oh, it's not a good movie. He's just blowing up stuff and smashing stuff and burning stuff, and these characters, the humans, they need, they have character development too, and it should be about them as well. And it's like, if I pay money to see a Godzilla movie, I want to see Godzilla do Godzilla things. Like, come on. And then that's how I felt about this. When I pay to see Halloween, I want to see Michael Myers do Michael Myers things and go to fucking work. He did that. My gripe is, they try to give so much depth to all these characters, and know that was fine. I didn't like it just because I was like, it's taken away from Michael Myers. You don't have to have all these emotional, character developments. Like, we know what it is. Like, this character has terrorized Haddonfield forever. Like, we get it. Let's just get to the point. We're trying to kill this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care about all these side characters, man. Like, I think it made the movie bloated. I felt like that was one of the knocks on the movie. The movie was too bloated. There was all these characters that they were trying to develop, and I was like, we don't need that, man. We know what this is, man. We're not going for this. We're not trying to make all these characters 3-dimensional. We know this is a horror movie. This ain't about to win no damn Oscar. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that was my knock, man. There was too much trying to build characters that were 3-dimensional. There was too much trying in that aspect. And although that's good in other scenarios, in other movie scenarios, we're talking about horror, man. You know what I'm saying? We just want to see the monster do monster things. Give us a little bit of dialogue, a little bit of character development, but I would have been good without that, me personally. You know what I'm saying? But I digress. I had to post this because this deals with the biggest gripe I have about this movie, and let's get into it. So let's get into it. Right, y'all see that I had a Thanos picture where he says you should have aimed for the head. So remember when I told you guys that I love the fact that the whole town, when they got a hold of this dude, when they got a hold of Michael Myers, let me tell you, boy, they whooped his ass, right? When people were actually having a go of Michael Myers, they was beating his ass, right? But for some reason, no one thought it was a good idea to hit this dude upside the head, bust him upside the head a couple times, shoot him, bang, and get done with it. For some reason, that was always the footnote to the ass whooping. Like everybody, it's like just hit him upside the head a couple times, shoot him in the head or something, stab him in the head, something. They was doing all this shit after talking about evil ends tonight, but y'all was just beating him up. It's like, I don't get it. Why don't y'all just hit him upside the head, man? Shoot this dude, man. No one did that. And it was infuriating me because I was just, and they made a point to have a flashback of one of the old characters. Remember when I said the character development that they tried to do that they didn't need to do? One of the cops stopped Dr. Loomis from blowing this motherfucker's head off. Why? I'm saying, why did you do that? You know what I'm saying? And then, okay, he does that. I mean, he prevents that from happening. And then, through the course of this movie, when people actually got a hold of him, and seemingly had the upper hand, no one thought it was a good idea to blow this motherfucker's brains out. I'm just saying the shit was justified. He was terrorizing and killing innocent people. If anyone deserved to get put down, you know what I'm saying? It was just, oh man, it perplexed me. And there was way too many scenes where that could have just neutralized the motherfucker, and they didn't capitalize on it whatsoever. And I was just like, oh, I already knew going in they were making it a trilogy, right? But they didn't make the way that they moved to the trilogy, to the third movie. I'm like, y'all could have been more convincing than that. I mean, if you're gonna have a confrontation where he's getting his ass whooped like that, have it to where he's evading death blows. He wasn't evading death blows. He was getting his ass whooped, but never really was evading death. Never really was he in a position where he was like, okay, they about to stab me in the head, or they about to shoot me in the head. Like they were shooting him, they were stabbing him, but nobody thought it was a good idea to shoot him in the head. Or stab him in the head. Big gripe. That was a big gripe because someone like that, man, he's a monster. I'm just saying, get rid of the motherfucker. That's all I'm saying. That was the biggest gripe I had. Here's another gripe I have. It's kind of nitpicky, but we're making content. I love the fact that they had him fight a lot of people. They had him fighting people in the streets. I mean, multiple people in the streets, on front yards and all that type of shit. And he was killing motherfuckers. He went to work. But I wish they would have showed more of it, right? Because they showed us his peripheral where he was seeing a lot of the people. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of people he about to fight. He about to get down with. You know what I'm saying? And then they showed us a little bit of it, but they didn't really show us as much as they could have the in-depth close quarter combat that we're accustomed to seeing Michael Myers do working. You know what I'm saying? I really loved seeing it, but they didn't feed us enough of it, man. And I just really, I know Michael Myers does his shit in close quarter combat. So for him to really kind of be bum rushed, which I love that concept, you know what I'm saying? Bum rush to Michael Myers, bum rush to Jason. He can't kill us all, you know what I'm saying? I love that shit. I actually, that's in a way it's my gripe. It's one of the gripes I had about this movie, but it was they could have expressed and expounded upon that visual more, man. They could have did it, man. They could have did it because after a while, it kind of got unbelievable. Not unbelievable, but it kind of got ridiculous. And I'm like, damn, he killing all these motherfuckers just like, you know, like, come on, man. Man, nah. Like, I was to the point where I was just like, man, he just killing all these motherfuckers like this. Like, so they just taking turns getting killed by this motherfucker. Just running up one by one getting killed. Because we seeing it, we hearing it in the back, but we ain't seeing the shit. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll stylize it in a certain way. But I'm like, I don't know, man. He was in the streets fighting people. Y'all need to bum rush this dude, man. I don't care. Y'all need to win that fight. There's way too many of y'all. There's just one of him. He needs to be the one that was down for the count. Y'all, there's too many of y'all there's too many of you guys to be taking this motherfucking L. For real. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. So that about does it, man. That about does it for my review of Halloween Kills. I was really excited going in. That's no question. I was really excited going in. But we're at the end of this video. So I'm going to give you guys my rating of this movie that I was highly anticipating. So here it goes. Since y'all know I have a soft spot for horror, right? So I was saying to giving this a scale of 1 through 5, but I don't want to do that because if I do that grading scale, I'm gonna make this movie sound like it's just terrible, right? So I'm gonna be a lot more generous with the grading scale. I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna go through this 1 through 10 scale. So out of 1 through 10, I want to give Halloween Kills. I want to give Halloween Kills I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10, and I'm just being really honest with you guys. I was gonna give it a 7, but I was like, I'm being generous right there. I'm being generous with this 1 through 10 scale. I give it a 6.5. 6.5 out of 10. And like I said, if you like Halloween, go see this movie. Just because I give it a 6.5 out of 10 doesn't mean that you'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. But I thought the first one was better. Was better. I'm engaged enough to see the end of this, right? Let me throw that out there. I'm engaged enough to see Halloween ends because the second one didn't, excel like the first one did. The first one was better. They were going in with a lot of goodwill, right? They made the sequel and they had a lot of goodwill from the fans. I mean, it's doing great in the box office. Like I said, this is just my grading, but I give it a 6.5 out of 10. They were riding high with a lot of the goodwill they had from the first one. I don't think that this one elevated it. I think it was below. I think the first one I want to give an 8 out of 10. This one I want to give a 6.5 out of 10. They still can end this off with a bang. The third one can be great. Let's just say that. Just because the second one wasn't up to par for me doesn't mean that this third one can't be off the chain. I'm expecting to be off the chain. Shit, I'm in. You know what I'm saying? I'm in. I love horror, so but a 6.5 out of 10. It was decent. It was just, and I just didn't like certain character development. Now maybe you guys might like certain character developments that took place, but I didn't enjoy it. I wanted to see the monster, so to speak. If I go to see the Frankenstein movie, I want to see Frankenstein. I don't really want to see all these other characters really, but 6.5 out of 10, man. Go see that. Halloween Kills. You might love it.